We continue Plutarch's Lives, translated by John Dryden, revised by Arthur Hugh Clough, with the comparison of Sertorius with Eumenes. These are the most remarkable passages that are come to our knowledge concerning Eumenes and Sertorius. In comparing their lives, we must observe that this was common to them both, that being aliens, strangers, and banished men, they came to be commanders of powerful forces and had the leading of numerous and warlike armies, made up of diverse nations. This was peculiar to Sertorius, that the chief command was, by his whole party, freely yielded to him as to the person of the greatest merit and renown, whereas Eumenes had many who contested the office with him, and only by his actions obtained the superiority. They followed the one honestly out of a desire to be commanded by him. They submitted themselves to the other for their own security, because they could not command themselves. This one, being a Roman, was the general of the Spaniards and the Cetonians, who for many years had been under the subjection of Rome, and the other a Chersonesion, who was chief commander of the Macedonians, who were great conquerors of mankind, who were at that time subduing the world. Sertorius, being already in high esteem for his former services in the wars and his abilities in the Senate, was advanced to the dignity of a general, whereas Eumenes obtained this honor from the office of a writer or secretary, in which he had been despised. Nor did he only at first rise from an inferior opportunities, but afterwards also met with greater impediments in the progress of his authority, and that not only from those who publicly resisted him, but from many others that privately conspired against him. It was much otherwise with Sertorius, not one of those whose party publicly opposed him, but only late in life, and secretly a few of his acquaintance entered into a conspiracy against him. Sertorius put an end to his dangers as often as he was victorious in the field, whereas the victories of Eumenes were the beginning of his perils through the malice of those that envied him. Their deeds in war were equal and parallel, but their general inclinations different. Eumenes naturally loved war and contention. Well, grew into it, but Sertorius esteemed peace and tranquility, when Eumenes might have lived in safety with honor if he would have quietly retired out of the way. He persisted in a dangerous contest with the greatest of the Macedonian leaders, but Sertorius, who was unwilling to trouble himself with any public disturbances, was forced, to the safety of his person, to make war against those who would not suffer him to live in peace. If Eumenes could have contented himself with the second place, Antigonus, freed from his competition for the first, would have used him well and shown him favor, whereas Pompey's friends would never permit Sertorius so much as to live in quiet. The one made war of his own accord, out of a desire for a command, and the other was constrained to accept of command to defend himself from war that was made against him. Eumenes was certainly a true lover of war, for he preferred his covetous ambition before his own security, but Sertorius was truly warlike, who procured his own safety by the success of his arms. As to the manner of their deaths, it happened to one without the least thought or surmise of it, but to the other when he suspected it daily, which in the first argues an equitable temper and a noble mind, not to distrust his friends, but in the other it showed some infirmity of spirit, for Eumenes intended to fly and was taken. The death of Sertorius dishonored not his life. He suffered that from his companions which none of his enemies were ever able to perform. The other, not able to deliver himself before his imprisonment, being willing also to live in captivity, neither did prevent nor expect his fate with honor or bravery, for by meanly supplicating and petitioning he made his enemy that pretended only to have power over his body, to be lord and master of his body and mind. And one of the things that we find is that I mean, that's overstating it, though. People talk about people's nature and all that, but really we develop a sense. Certain things are repressed, certain things are brought out, and on each side can be things that hide the truth of what our nature is. But what matters is our deeds, our consciousness that we maintain through things. And even if it's an enemy, especially if it's not the enemy themselves, if it's like their, their animal or their spouse or something, you react with dignity, even if people are being taken into slavery or whatever. Or a curfew. Same thing a lot of the times when we hear that on the news. They've been thrown into a curfew. Just have dignity how you treat people. Thank you very much.